Non-Governmental Gender Organizations Coordinating Council, NGOCC, recently launched the Her Time Is Now donation button aimed at transforming Zambia's political landscape. The digital fundraising tool designed to help break the financial barriers that have long prevented many women from fully participating in politics. Speaking during their launch in Lusaka, NGOCC board chairperson Ms. Beauty Katebe said it is time for Zambia to rethink its political environment, noting that women, despite being the majority of voters, remain significantly underrepresented in leadership and decision-making positions.
We are deeply honored to have you joining us this morning and for standing with the Non-Governmental Gender Organizations Coordinating Council, NGOCC, in advancing a cause that is not only timely, but essential to the future of Zambia's democracy. We have gathered here to advance a cause for the women under a powerful and deliberate noble call dubbed Her Time Is Now campaign. Guest of honor, ladies and gentlemen, this campaign is born out of a simple but uncomfortable truth. That is, our political system has not been inclusive. Women remain significantly underrepresented in political and public leadership, despite being the majority of voters, party members, campaigners, and community mobilizers across the country. It is a known fact that women in Zambia continue to face deep structural, cultural, and financial barriers that limit their participation in decision-making. Too few women are adopted by political parties. Too few are supported during campaigns, and far too few are elected to office. Not because women lack competence or leadership qualities, but because the system is designed in such a manner. Ladies and gentlemen, when women are excluded, our democracy is weakened. When leadership lacks diversity, development is slowed down. When half the population is sidelined, national progress is compromised. As such, to address this challenge, NGOCC launched the Her Time Is Now campaign, a national-wide multi-pronged initiative aimed at reshaping Zambia's political landscape by empowering women leaders and transforming how political power is accessed and exercised. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sure you are wondering why I am repeating what we seem to already know. I mean the issue of challenges affecting women's participation in politics. We know that papers have been produced, workshops have been held, speeches have been delivered, and political parties engaged, all in an effort to change the narrative. Yet, even after 60 years of Zambia's independence, the struggles of women in politics continues. It is for this reason that we will continue to repeat and talk about the challenges around women's political participation until there is a significant change in the political landscape. As the adage goes, common hearing will never be common until it becomes common practice. We will continue to talk about the challenges and various corrective actions to change the political narrative of women in our country. Ladies and gentlemen, may I also be direct to our political parties, who are the gatekeepers of our democracy and political ecosystem. It is high time you honored your political commitments and adopted more women candidates. On this one, I wish we had many, and executive director, since I'm not seeing any male political leaders around, we will need to have another meeting specifically for them so that we address this issue. The few political leaders that have engaged, they've already started saying, you already have 20, so what do you want? Can you imagine that? I've engaged even 3, 4 political party leaders, and the answer has been, at least you have been given the 20. Meaning, on adoptions, it may be very difficult. So we need to engage them in one room and tell them that we are not, 20 is not enough when we discuss them in terms of percentages. It is important that we engage them. To those aspiring to be members of parliament, we request that you groom or mentor at least 3 female aspiring candidates who will go with you and run with you until they get to local government offices as well. To our seasoned politicians, we appeal that you adopt a sustainable strategy that will ensure that leadership evolves and mentorship becomes a norm. To our partners and the private sector, we ask that you invest in women's leadership as an investment in democracy. To the media, we implore you to amplify the women's voices fairly and responsibly. And to the communities and citizens, we urge you to vote for the women and challenge the stereotypes wherever they appear. It is that they are supposed to get, and they go to the GS and say, you have not given us one campaign material. We are lack of logistics. What campaign material? Females. For what? Definitely everyone knows for what. If you can go back to the GS and say, there is one campaign material remaining from what we have. So our male counterparts in politics, we need to discuss this issue in detail because very soon they'll be going out in campaigns. We all know that without addressing the financial gap, political equality will remain a pipe dream. To this end, NGOCC has introduced their Time is Now donation button, a transparent, secure mechanism that allows individuals, groups, institutions, and partners alike to directly invest in women's political participation. We invite everyone to have a say in increasing women's political participation. It is your opportunity to shift from supporting women at a distance to actively engaging through financial contributions and giving them a vote. The women need you. The women need that coin. The women need your support. May we all seize the opportunity to contribute to changing the political landscape of our country for a more inclusive, fair, and just governance system. Guests of honor, ladies and gentlemen, as we look towards the August 2026 general elections, the urgency is very clear. This is not just about one election cycle. Our time is now is a forward-thinking and long-term movement to permanently transform Zambia's political culture and ensure inclusive governance becomes the norm, not the exception. Be part of this movement. Let this breakfast today be remembered not just for dialogue, but for decisions, partnerships, and commitments that move this agenda forward. I thank you all.
Meanwhile, Permanent Secretary for Gender Division under the Office of the President, Ms. Mainga Kabika, represented by Director of Gender and Development, Mr. Henry Nkoma, reaffirmed government's commitment to inclusive governance.
I wish to reiterate that the issue of resources remains a significant barrier for many women who wish to participate in politics. As such, government welcomes innovative initiatives such as Her Time Is Now donation button, which seeks to mobilize support in a transparent and accountable manner for programs that empower women politically. This approach speaks to the importance of partnership between government, civil society, and the private sector in closing the gender gap in political participation. Distinguished guests, 2026 is upon us, and the 2026 general elections are close. Let us remember that the quality of our democracy will be measured not only by peaceful elections, but by who participates and who is represented. A democracy that excludes women cannot fully serve its people. A nation that empowers women strengthens its future. So the government of the Republic of Zambia remains committed to working with NGOCC and all stakeholders to ensure that women are not only present in political spaces, but are supported, protected, and given equal opportunity to lead. Let this breakfast meeting mark a renewed commitment, not just in words, but in action, to ensure that when women step forward to lead, the system is ready to receive them. In closing, allow me to rephrase the words of the Canadian Prime Minister, Mark Carney, who once said, "If women are not on the table, then women are on the menu." And so, our time to be on the table is now, because her time is now. It is now my honor and privilege to declare the donation button officially launched.
NGOCC Executive Director Ms. Annie Mbewe Anamela also urged political parties to demonstrate real commitment by adopting more women candidates.
This morning we gather here for a very, very important reason, and that is women in politics and how we can ensure that we have more and more and more of women represented in political office. We won't go into the statistics, but we all know that at the moment, there are very few women represented. The numbers are very low. Whether it's at parliamentary level, at council level, even at ward level. This is concerning for us because women make up more than about 51% of the population in Zambia. The youth too make up at about 60% of the population in Zambia. We also have women with disability and persons with disability. However, the participation in politics does not reflect the demographics of Zambia. And this is why we are here today, but with a focus of women in politics, young women in politics, women with disabilities in politics. So as we start today, our key focus is around financing for women in politics, because that has been a key issue that has come up in all the interactions that we've had with women in politics. We have been meeting different women, convening at the NGOCC office on a monthly basis. These are women who are aspiring candidates and who, in their own rights, as everybody has a right to participate, have made the decision to participate in the elections this year and probably in other years to come. And as we've met these women, the one thing that has resonated is the fact that financial resources and other resources are a challenge to their participation. NGOCC launched a campaign to ensure that we have increased numbers of women in politics. That her time is now. And part of that campaign, responding to the needs that the women have expressed, is for us to find a way of raising resources to support these women. And this is why we are here today.
Young Women in Action Board Chairperson Ms. Nalishewa Siambo commended NGOCC for championing women's political participation and highlighted ongoing initiatives supporting young women leaders in districts such as Mumbwa and Itejeteje.
Impact of women's leadership, not only in my role as board chairperson, but also as a young woman from Rufunsa district. Rufunsa is one of the districts that produced one of the youngest ward councillors at only 20 years old in 2021, in the last 2021 elections. This tells us something very, very important. When women are supported, leadership is not limited by age, geography, or background. It is unlocked by opportunity. Through our partnership with NGOCC, Young Women in Action is implementing the Igniting Women's Interest in Leadership and Civic Engagement project in Mumbwa and Itejeteje districts. These districts reflect a broader national reality where women's political participation continues to be constrained by structural barriers, including patriarchal norms, economic challenges, male-dominated political systems, and violence against women during elections. In response, our work focuses on 3 key areas. We are mobilizing communities to support women leaders, building confidence and capacity in aspiring female candidates by the example given by the 20-year-old ward councillor, and advocating for fairer and safer political participation as we approach this year's 2026 general elections. Encouragingly, we are already seeing change. We are seeing shifts in community attitudes, and we are seeing growing interest among young women who are beginning to view leadership as theirs and legitimate. It is in this context that today's launch of the donation button is both timely and strategic. Financial constraints remain one of the biggest obstacles preventing capable women from contesting elections. This initiative offers a practical solution, one that helps to level the playing field and ensures that leadership is determined by competence, integrity, and vision, not financial capacity. As Young Women in Action, we welcome the innovation and reaffirm our commitment to working closely with NGOCC and other partners to ensure that women are supported to participate in decision-making spaces at all levels. Let us continue working collectively as civil society, as partners, and as allies to ensure that women's leadership becomes the norm rather than just the exception. Because when women lead, communities thrive, and when women lead, democracy is strengthened. And without reserve, I'd like to say this, that indeed, her time is now. Thank you.
And in a call for broader inclusion, Zinado coordinator Ms. Chilufyakwalia urged political leaders to deliberately adopt women with disabilities, reminding the audience that disability does not diminish intelligence or leadership ability.
Yes, her time is now. Yes, we are saying her time is now, even for that woman with a disability. For too long now, a woman with a disability has been going to elections, to polling stations, just to vote. But we are saying 2026 general elections, even a woman with a disability should go and be on the ballot paper to be voted for. Zambia cannot speak about inclusive governance, proudly speak about inclusive governance if a woman with a disability is year in, year out, nowhere near or left out in the decision-making spaces. So we are saying her time is now. The call for women, for more women in parliament is valid, but that can be even stronger if a woman with a disability is included among those contesting for leadership positions. I would want to remind us that the Constitution of Zambia talks about equality and non-discrimination. Zambia, as a state party to the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, has an obligation to ensure effective participation of persons with disabilities in public and in elections and public life, in political and public life, including them having a right to stand for elections. Our own disability policy reinforces this commitment. Women with disabilities participation, this is a reminder to everyone that women with disabilities participation in politics is not a charity, but it's a constitutional obligation. As I had the chairperson already speak about us as women trying to speak to having an increased percentage of women representatives in parliament. We are appreciative of the proportional representation, but we want an increased percentage of women represented in parliament. You have to bear with me. I take my time. I don't know if the Electoral Commission of Zambia is present here. I want to say that they should take note that for a woman with a disability also, her time is now. Not to appear in polling stations just as a voter, but they are going there to be voted for as well because they are on the ballot paper. They will be on the ballot paper. So accessibility to the polling station and services should be accessible. So accessibility is non-negotiable. Everything should be accessible. And to political parties, I am saying that a woman, as the campaign says, her time is now. Please, political parties, do adopt that woman with a disability. Support her. Stand with her. Go around the campaign trail with her. We have seen your manifestos. They talk about disability. But now we're saying enough about having disability just reflected on your manifestos. Let us put that person with a woman with a disability on a ballot paper. To politicians, no politicians, a woman with a disability standing there as your opponent is no less capable. Disability does not reduce one's intelligence. Disability does not reduce one's ability to lead. So do not discredit anyone on the basis of their disability. I would want just to say that it is our time now, that woman with a disability, to lead, to represent, and to shape Zambia's future. Let us all move from commitment to action. Let us make inclusion real. No disability inclusion, that does not mean democracy at all.
And female politicians representative Ms. Savoy Imbwera reminded the audience what society needs.
For a very long time now, we have felt disconnected with a number of issues that have been happening in the country as women politicians, and we said, we do have a mother body. How best do we come together and ensure that we work in a way that really advantages women? So we have this group, like the ED said, which we formed to say, let's come together and work and ensure that we increase on the numbers. Because as women politicians, we know what the problems are in terms of why we are not getting into office. A number of the women that are on the group are not just aspiring now in 2026. They have wanted to aspire, or rather they have aspired before. Some have stood in the elections and they have failed to pull through. Others have not gone through the adoption process. So we said, with all these women and all these experiences that people are facing, how best can we come together and increase the numbers? And that's how we came together, and we've been meeting. Thank God for all the support that the NGOCC is giving us. We've been meeting at the NGOCC every month, and we've been discussing our issues. Sometimes when we meet as women, when we are called by NGOs, you find that women will be like, transport refunds and everything. So the women were shocked that when we started coordinating this group, we said one of the issues we shall not do is get any transport refund, because this is for us. We need to ensure that we do things that are going to support the women and not things which are short time. So for some of those women that may not have understood where all this was coming from, I think this is the genesis of that, where we said everybody who has to be part of this has to understand that this is your thing, and you have to work hard to ensure that we get whatever it is that we need to get. And here we are. The women have been busy meeting, strategizing, and doing everything possible to ensure that, number one, we fundraise, and number two, we encourage other women to be part of this. So the unity among women is something that we have not seen before. And I may also tell you to say, if you look at the groups that we have as politicians, we have groups as opposition, the ruling party on their side, and then where we are together, people shout at each other the whole day. You know, from morning to evening, the women, the men will be there shouting at each other. You're not doing this right, you're not doing this right. You, the opposition, you're doing this. But for this group that we have, we said, number one, this is for mentorship. Number two, this is for strategy. This is for fundraising and all those things. And here we are today at this first breakfast meeting, where we are together with the NGOCC launching this donation pattern, which will go a long way in terms of what it is that the women want to achieve. Because amongst the biggest problems that women have had in this politics, it has been resource mobilization. Women don't have resources. So you find that apart from the hostile adoption processes that we have within political parties, which advantage people with money, like those who don't have money, apart from that, the high fees, even when it comes to ECZ, the high campaign money which is needed, women along this whole process are being dropped out. And before you know it, we have that 12% of women that we see in parliament. We have those 7% of women councillors that we see across the country. So the process itself has been something that all of us as women have been very aware of, have experienced, and have been disadvantaged in several ways. So this, for the first time, we said from the onset as NGOCC and other CSOs and women in politics, let's come together and see what the problems are and find the solutions. Because for a long time, we have always discussed the problems, the challenges, and everything. But when it comes to solutions, we have failed to find the solutions. So for the first time, this is happening. And as women politicians, we've even said, we don't want any capacity building programs. I know the donors are here. You like a lot of capacity building programs for women politicians. We don't want capacity building programs. We've been capacity built so much that we become bodybuilders. We don't want. We don't want capacity building programs. We want programs whereby we're able to go in the field and campaign. We want programs where people see that there's a woman from SP here, there's a woman who's standing independent here, there's a woman, I've seen the UPND women there, the PF women, they see us on the ground and we're campaigning together and they know that the women are serious. You know, those are the kind of strategies that we want to do this year. People need to see that we're serious. The men need to see that we're serious. So that when they see that the women have come together and this is a program, they'll step aside and say, women, after all, you're 51%, can you please go ahead and do that? So no more capacity building programs, let's go on the ground, let's campaign, let's get those numbers. And like we have said, as women, we know exactly what we've been facing and what has been problematic when it comes to the elections and the campaigns. So together with the NGOCC, we've been telling them to say, this is how we want to move. And if we're going to move like that and have resources, because apart from this, I'm sure they will tell us later on the other fundraising activities that we're going to have. When we do have these various fundraising activities, please come on board and support the women politicians, because with that, we can assure you that we will have the numbers in Parliament, we will have the numbers in the council chambers, and you will have our voices. Because our voices are not like those of men. Our voices are those that look after the persons with disability. Our voices are those that are concerned about a woman who's pregnant and that she has to walk 10 kilometers to the nearest health center. Our voices as women are concerned with other women. So let's have our voices in Parliament and the council chambers, and this country is definitely going to develop. Thank you so much.
The launch brought together government officials, diplomats, civil society organizations, political leaders, cooperating partners, and members of the media, all united in advancing women's leadership in Zambia.
Yeah, hear the call to break the wall. Her time is now.
Our time is now. Our time is now. Yes, indeed.